Welcome back to Worldview. Reaping what you sow. Are white supremacists in the U.S. preparing to fight a new civil war? Well, this is the Monday line for Thursday. Normally on Wednesday, but Monday was a holiday, so we tape on Tuesday. I'm Denis Campbell. Now, the headlines in the last few weeks have been very chilling. Colorado's prison director was gunned down as he opened the front door to his home to greet a pizza delivery man who was indeed a white supremacist just released from one of his prisons. Now, that shooter had earlier killed a Domino's pizza delivery man solely for the purpose of his uniform, which was used to gain access. That attacker later died in a hail of bullets after leaving Colorado and crossing 2 states. He fired on and hit a Texas state trooper who stopped him for having mismatched Colorado vehicle license plates. The shooter would conduct a high-speed chase and gun battle before being fatally wounded in a crash with an 18-wheel lorry. Now, his release was linked to a prison paperwork error. Is there anyone out there willing to take bets it was also a privatized prison? Also, a Texas County District Attorney and his wife were brutally massacred in their home this past weekend. This was also by, allegedly, a white supremacist. How do they know? Well, his assistant district attorney was similarly killed brutally by one of these a month earlier, and the DA issued a challenge for, quote, this lowlife to crawl out from under his rock because the authorities would get him, close quote. Their reply was to gun down the man's wife who answered the door, then fire multiple bullets into his body. The crime scene contained, quote, numerous shell casings, close quote. Now, an alternate on Tuesday, Alex Kane, interviewed a former prisoner who issued a dire warning that America's prisons are turning out violent white supremacists, and these supremacists are mentally refighting the Civil War. And no one seemed to be paying any attention until this past week. Now, this is one time I really hate saying I told you so. 2 years ago, on the 11th of March in 2011, Representative Peter King, Republican of New York, held a for-show hearing on Muslim American radicalization. Now, the witness list was a complete sham. Democrats boycotted the hearing, and in fact, the only one who was invited to testify was Minnesota Representative Keith Ellison, who's the only Muslim member of the U.S. Congress. And he warned in sometimes tearful testimony before this House Homeland Security Committee that their inquiry was, quote, the very heart of scapegoating, close quote. Said Ellison in his testimony, we've seen the consequences of anti-Muslim hate. The best defense against extreme ideologies is social inclusion and civic engagement. And I fear these hearings may undermine our efforts in this direction. Ellison then became emotional while recounting the story of Mohammed Salman Hamdani, a 23-year-old Muslim American firefighter who died saving others during the September 11th terrorist attacks. Hamdani, whose mother was in the audience, was castigated for his religion after his death, with some wondering if he'd been allied with the attackers, Ellison said. He should not be remembered as a Muslim, but as an American who gave everything for his country, close quote. And it was an outrageous hearing. It ignored the real U.S. domestic terrorism threat, white supremacist hate and militia groups, which had grown 850% in the 4 years of the Obama administration. Now, while they were undoubtedly very happy that a black man was now the president of the United States, what terrified them even more was the 2010 census, in which it was predicted by the very next year, as ABC News reported, 50.4% of births would be of Hispanic, Black, Asian, and other minority children, while white babies would account for 49.5% of the country's newborns. And U.S. demographics are changing and threatening to make white people an even bigger minority in the nation for the longer term. Thus, we see the rather unprecedented levels of voter disenfranchisement and attempts to make it difficult for minorities and the elderly to cast a vote, especially in predominantly red Republican-leaning states. And the U.S. Republican Party ignores any white hate group threat, since these groups are largely anti-Obama and vote Republican. This is their new base? This is the result of the new branding effort? You know, if the GOP jumped to the fore here and condemned these activities and launched hearings to stop this type of attack and abuse, they might actually have a chance. Now they just look stupid as members of their party launch hate screed at every opportunity and or call Hispanics wetbacks. Now, since the execution of Timothy McVeigh, he was sentenced to death for the Oklahoma City bombing that killed almost 300 people, and the election of a black man as the U.S. president, the number of white supremacist militia groups has exploded. And within prisons, they're the most feared group because their members purchase thousands upon thousands of semi-automatic weapons like the AR-15. That's the assault rifle used by the Sandy Hook Elementary Newtown shooter. But as bad as all of this is the wake-up call no one wants to hear. According to the Southern Poverty Law Center's Mark Potok, the number of radical anti-government militia groups increased from 150 to 1,274 during the years of the Obama presidency. There had been more homegrown domestic terrorism attacks by right-wing groups than by international terrorists during this presidency as well, close quote. And that was before the Sandy Hook shooting. Since then, the sales of guns and ammo, driven by fears that, quote, Obama's going to take our guns away, close quote, has led to an insatiable appetite for guns and ammo. Said CNN Money, Mike Waddell is the head of maintenance at Dynamic Research Technologies, an ammunition manufacturer in Albany, Missouri. And he's adding 10 new hires to his staff of 35. DRT's machine operators make between $10 and $17 an hour, a healthy paycheck in a region where it's tough to find jobs and the cost of living is relatively low. Now, DRT cranks out 80,000 bullets per shift and operates 2 shifts per day, but that's not enough to meet demand. Waddell is adding a 3rd manufacturing shift and building an additional facility. Demand picked up a year ago. It quadrupled, he said. It just went crazy. He says .223 caliber ammo, which is for semi-automatic rifles, is particularly difficult to keep in stock. And they are a tiny piece of an industry that employs more than 240,000 people across the USA. Assault rifles are selling out, and the ammunition for them does not even make it to the store shelves. It's sold out before they're even unboxed, said one industry spokesman. So how about we leave the brown-skinned Muslim men alone? 99.9994% of them are citizens just like everyone else. The alarm is sounding, and Congressman King is silent on whether or not his Homeland Security Committee should even hold hearings on this real, clear, and present danger to the safety of everyone in the USA. Typical.